Hello, my name is Tom Alseer, and I just came back from a business trip to Salt Lake City, Utah. And like a lot of people, I got lost and confused. So I'm making this video to help people understand before they go their first trip to Salt Lake City. Now, if you happen to run a hotel in Salt Lake City, I recommend that you have somebody make a video like this to give the explanation. But you want to be friendly and make everybody feel welcome on your video, not just the people who will be staying at your hotel. So you would be saying, for example, those of you who will be staying at our hotel, that is located at, and tell them that. Now, if you're familiar with cities like New York, Manhattan, for example, or Washington, D.C., or just a typical American city where you have North Main Street running into South Main Street, you may get confused by Salt Lake City. Now, Washington, D.C., the center of everything, is the center of the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol. From there, you go east, and eventually you get to East Capitol Street, and you head on east. North of the Capitol is North Capitol Street, which runs north-south. And west of the Capitol is West Capitol Street. And south of the Capitol is South Capitol Street. And everything northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest means from that point. You can think of that as the intersection of the equator and the prime meridian. Well, in Salt Lake City, the place called Temple Square is the center. Specifically along the south side of Temple Square, right in the middle. Now, if you take a look at a map of Salt Lake City, you'll see that Temple Square is twice as long east to west as it is wide or tall north to south. That is still called a square. Kind of like you get the advertisement from your local supermarket and it's twice as tall as it is wide, and it's called a circular. Well, along the south side of Temple Square, you'll see a street called South Temple. And the corner of South Temple and Main is the center. Think of South Temple as your equator. Or those of you who are into history, think of it as Mason and Dixon's line, the divider between north and south in Salt Lake City. Main Street, as it is in many cities, is the divider between east and west. And as in many cities, possibly your city, there's a North Main Street and a South Main Street. South Temple is the divider. But if you're coming up South Main Street, northbound, you get to Temple Square, you cannot continue on because Temple Square, where the Mormons have their temple, is private property of the Mormon Church. You can walk through it, but you cannot drive through it. So there you would take a right turn onto South Temple. You are now going east on not just South Temple, but you're east of Main Street. So now you are on East South Temple. Proceed one block, and it's not called East Temple, it's called State Street because the state capitol is on it. But you can think of State Street as East Temple. Turn left, and you're going north on not just State Street, North State Street, because you're north of the equator, north of South Temple. Not South Temple Street, although I will probably mess up and call it South Temple Street, but it's South Temple. But you're going now north on North State Street, and you make a left turn, and now you are on North Temple. Not just any old North Temple, mind you. You're east of Main Street, so now you are on East North Temple. And you are not just on East North Temple, you are heading west on East North Temple. How's that? And then if you proceed on your next right, now you're going north on North Main Street. The same as in most cities and towns, you have a North Main Street and a South Main Street. Well, Temple Square, the street along the north side of Temple Square is North Temple. And just like the numbered streets in Manhattan, it has an east and a west. So you have an East North Temple, east of Main Street, and a West North Temple, west of Main Street. If you continue, instead of turning onto North Main, if you continue west on West North Temple, you get to the corner of West Temple, the street that goes along the west side of Temple Square. And you are now traveling south on not just West Temple, you're north of the equator, so it's North West Temple. Well, you take a look at the map and you see South Temple, and you go one block south of South Temple, and parallel to South Temple, an east-west street called 100 South. Think of the metric system. Think of a meter is 100 centimeters. Well, think of this as 100 centiblocks south of South Temple. Okay, 100 South is 100 units south of South Temple, and like the numbered streets of Manhattan, it has an east and a west, depending on whether you're east or west of your prime meridian, South Main Street. So you have streets like West 100 South, and a number, whatever house number or building number it is, on West 100 South. And so on. If you're going west on West North Temple, or let's say you're going west on West South Temple, which is your equator. You've got West Temple, you've got on your right, you'll be seeing North West Temple, and on your left, you'll see South West Temple, just like North Main Street and South Main Street. Go out another block, you'll see a street called 200 West, which is 200 centiblocks west of Main Street. And on your right, you have North 200 West. And on your south, you've got South 200 West, just like North Main Street and South Main Street in a typical United States city. The next block, you'll see up ahead on your left, Energy Solutions Arena, home of the Utah Jazz. That is 300 West, and like Main Street, you'll have North 300 West and South 300 West. It also has a name, John Stockton Drive, after the basketball player. But 300 West, it's important to understand there are also names. The locals tend to nickname these streets. 200 West, they call it 2nd West. 300 West, everybody just calls it 3rd West. So when locals give you directions, they are likely to call it 3rd West. But you may wonder, now why is there a 100 South and there's no 100 West? Why is there no 100 North? And the reason is simple. The point of reference, your intersection between your prime meridian of Main Street and your equator, or Mason and Dixon's line of South Temple, is right there on the south side of Temple Square. West Temple is already 100 centiblocks west. So the next block is 200 centiblocks, 200 units west. And not all of these streets are in units of 100 either, depending on the length. There's streets with different numbers, such as 1950 West. And, of course, it can have a north and a south, just like Main Street. Now, if you take a look at your map, you'll notice that east of Temple Square and north of your equator is an area with numbered avenues and lettered streets. I'm not going to talk about that. That's a totally different set of logic over there to the east of the state capitol and to the east of Temple Square. So I'm talking about the other areas. You get confused. I was confused, of course, with Southwest Temple, and of course people driving north on Southwest. Your first street you'll probably come across is North Temple, coming from the airport, and you're traveling east on West North Temple. You turn right onto Northwest Temple, and now you're traveling south on Northwest Temple. This is easy to understand once somebody explains it to you.